Yeah, we are good to go, so it's not recorded. So hi everybody. Thank you for joining the Ionic Zürich Meetup. We got two special guests tonight. Romulo gonna make a presentation about internationalization, and Sandro gonna share some tips he learned with Firebase while developing his app. So I would say, Sandro, if you agree that maybe Romulo begins, since he's a guest from far away.
Okay, for me. It's
okay like that? Okay, cool. So Romulo, I'll let you the place.
I will start presenting. Just let me know when you have my screen. Do you have my slides?
Yes, I do.
Do you want me to put a little bit bigger because I just off of screen, or it's okay like that?
For me, it's fine, and we see you handle don't write, right?
Perfect. Well, let's get it started. Today we're going to talk about internationalization and localization, and how we can also build a more accessible web with small tips and small things that are very, very easy to apply on our web to provide a good and effective internationalization. And after, we're going to see how is the landscape of internationalization on the JavaScript land. Hello, ni hao, ciao. This is the typical hi to everybody. And just to introduce myself, I'm Romulo. I'm working on financial industry here in Spain. Also part of the TC39 for ECMA 402, where we built the internationalization API for JavaScript. I also chairing a message format working group for Unicode, where we try to create the message format 2.0 and hopefully bring it to the JavaScript as well. Open source and teaching on my spare time. My social media, Twitter, if you want to follow me, and YouTube, I'm releasing some new content that I building this month. If you want to follow, just go there and reach me, talk to me, ask me anything you want. Now, let's get started really. Well, everybody knows this picture. It's the planet where we will live. And we have some trouble communicating with each other. Is the main reason and the main driver for internationalization and localization, because having more than 195 countries and speaking more than 6,000 languages is impossible to communicate effectively between two persons, even speaking the same language. Imagine if you have to translate, if you have to internationalize, and you have to localize everything. What's the main reason that this was invented? Nobody can speak all the languages. Only one person that I know can do it. But for the regular people like you, like me, we have something called internationalization. And yes, guess what? I18N. 18 characters between the first and the last letters for the word internationalization. And what is the basics of internationalization? Well, it's very easy. Prepare your web or your software in general to be more understandable by everybody. This is normally done by developers. This means that you are preparing the path to internationalize your app. You use your APIs, you use libraries. In case of JavaScript, that we lack lots of native APIs like exists in other platforms to internationalize our software. And it's just preparing, just open the door to your software to fit the internationalization part. After, we have L10N, and guess what? There are 10 between the first and last one, and is localization. This is something similar to I18N, but it's a little bit more deep. It's to make the web more familiar to everybody. It's just not preparing the tools and the software to be translatable. It's doing it effectively, meaning that it's normally done by translators, and it's the act of translating. But it's not just translating. It's not just changing the word from different language. It's a little bit more than that. it's giving the context, it's giving the dates, the currencies, the regions, the time zones that are needed to each different country, different language, to make people understand better what you are saying. In Switzerland, you have a good example of that. You are a country that speaks several languages, and all the languages that are native on Switzerland or are spoken in Switzerland also are spoken in different countries, and there are slightly different things between each other, meaning that if you are a good translator, if you have the opportunity to translate and localize well your software, will happen that you are doing an effective and accessible job for all the internet. If you don't have the opportunity and your company doesn't have the budget to have 10 or 20 translation companies working with you, any effort that you are doing, it's already a good job, because it's turning your web, your software, more understandable by everybody and familiar. And this is other topic. This is globalization. Normally we always speak about the two first topics, but today we're gonna also have a look what is globalization. And globalization, it's a little bit of the two pieces, internationalization and localization, is to make a product eligible for a correct market, a country or region. Involves legal things, involves all the things that normally are companies that do this, yeah? It's not just translating, just making it feel familiar to everybody. It's making regional and make it legally and marketing and anything possible. And normally are the companies that does this. Wrapping up this part of the internationalization, localization, well, the first one is just make it possible. As a software developers, we need to enable and facilitate the translators or anybody that are helping us with translations to fit all the possible and slightly different things from a translation service. And localization is doing it right. It's not just go Google Translate and okay, Google Translate now it's much more better than was 10 years ago or 8 years ago, but it's making it fitting for the correct locale, correct person. And one thing that happens on the localization, and just to open some of a heads up for everybody, don't do this. This is an old picture for a well-known company that tried to do localization, but they just did a huge Photoshop mistake. This is not localization, okay? Try to just pass the correct message, because this can have a huge impact. And we're gonna see the examples not of good localization, because good localization, we already know some of them. Let's see what happens on poor localization. And one of the industries that are the worst localizing is the movie industry. Just giving an example, this is an old movie from Steve Carell. It's a comedy movie, like a romance comedy movie. And here in Spain, we call Como la vida misma, like life itself. Well, the done in real life disappear, and if you search on internet, is nothing to do and nothing related with this movie, yeah? In Portuguese, we say amor e a vida real, love and real life. Well, they all at least kept the real life, but they completely ignored them, meaning that if you are trying to search by this movie, you don't have any clue from what is the real movie we are talking about. And the last one that I think is the worst, it's in Brazil, Portuguese from Brazil. Imagine, we are speaking the same language, just different countries. And Brazil, they, eu, meu irmão e a nossa namorada, means that me, my brother, and our girlfriend. he's not just saying nothing related with the original title of the movie. They are also doing some spoiling what is going inside of the movie. Yeah, meaning that this is so important. And of course, we know that the movie industry it's famous to do everything to make money and to be profitable. And I understand they change the titles, but this is not localization. Localizing is nothing related with that. This is just something that I don't have a name for it. And yeah, this is one of the reasons that why it's so important having a good internationalization and localization. It's just simple to deliver the correct message, to pass the correct message between the A and B. Because if you rephrase, if you change the original meaning, you probably lose and you can get lost in the context. Like when we see on the cinema industry, the unique thing that can relate this movie, the original movie, with the title, it's the poster, because it's similar to everybody, and is the unique relation, because nobody can say and translate correctly from the source to the language that is directed the message, meaning that keep the message correct, because this is so important. And why is this so important, and why we need to have a good impact of I18N as accessibility? Well, it's simple, because if you are doing a good internationalization and localization, you improve the user experience, you have a wider audience, because people will be able to understand what you are doing. A better conversion, because if you are multi-language and prepared to different markets, our CEO, all these marketing features will be more profitable and will be more effective. And the best one, be more inclusive. People will understand, people, not just people that don't speak your language, people that speak different languages or have different disabilities will understand your content. And we're gonna speak this through the talk, because we're gonna start by fixing not my localization, but your localization in global. And we can start with simple things. HTML. HTML is the most simple part of our web content, yeah? And just using a song that I like from Bob Marley, when we see a web page with this text, don't worry about the thing, because every little thing is going to be all right. We know, okay, it's okay for us. But this is how we see it as a user. And if we go a little bit deeper in a little bit on the code, imagine if the code was written like this. Well, as a user that understands English, you will see the page normal, like we saw before. But just put some attention. If you add length attributes to each different paragraph, you are doing something that can have a huge consequence, not for the user that understands English, but for all the users that don't understand the English. Meaning that your browser, when you have something like this, will think that, okay, let's render HTML. And if in any case I need to render for a screen reader or text-to-speech, I have a web page that is written in English, but I have some parts that are written in French, Japanese, Spanish, and Portuguese from Brazil. With this tag, we are doing a huge mess, and we are doing a huge mess.
Don't worry about us.
Users will listen something like this. Okay, I have here.
Don't worry about a thing. Cause every little thing gonna be alright.
Sing in, don't worry about a thing.
Cause every little thing is gonna be alright.
Meaning that just the piece of HTML we just saw for the browser and for screen readers are 4 different people trying to speak the same language, meaning that if with just a little bit of correctness here, you probably we will be more effective on screen readers and on translations, meaning that this is important to fix on HTML, because screen readers will be more effective when need to read your screen and when need to read your HTML content. All the spelling and grammar checkers will work better, and all translation and interoperability. What this means means that if you don't translate your page, if you are not using any translation software library, by adding this kind of tags, you are telling the browser, you are telling tools like Google Translate that your original content is in English, and the page will be more easily translated to a different country or a different language, or will be easily interpreted by text-to-speech, meaning that just with this little tag, you are doing a great effort and a great job to make more accessible your web. Now, we have also CSS. Why? What we can do localization with CSS? Yes, we can. And by simple things. First, with fonts. This is a tip that it's a performance tip, but also a tip for those that need to load different alphabets, different characters from different languages. Meaning that when you need to use Cyrillic, Arabic, or any other different characters, you have a set of different strategies to load fonts. And using the Unicode range, you can load specifically the font or the character or the range of characters that you need for that specific language. Meaning that if you need just to say a word in Cyrillic, in Russian, you don't need to load all the alphabet. You just can load the character that you need. Means that it's not just internationalization tip, it's also a performance tip, because fonts are a huge bottleneck on loading the web. Other things that we can do is using the pseudo selector lang, where you can also encapsulate conditional things. In some languages, the codes are in some format. You can change the format of your codes or change format or content based on that tag. Meaning that if you are right on the attribute HTML together with this lang tag, you can do cool things. You can paint or change the images. Don't do the mix of images that we saw before, but you can conditionally load an image from Switzerland or image from Spain, depending on the language and attributes as well. And just build your CSS based on these conditions. This opens a huge spectrum of things and personalization for your web. It's just CSS. Meaning that if you fix that and if you put some attention and some love on that part, you can do some conditional painting and load based on language. You can have better localization based on styles, because you can load conditionally as well images or anything you prefer. And at the end, consequently, you have some performance improvements, because you are doing also use of less content over the wire, because if you are loading just specific characters that you need, you are doing well. And at the end, the JavaScript part. The JavaScript part is a full session, and the part that excites me most, because the Intel API, the API that also I'm part of, and I humbly try to contribute, they made a huge progress from last 2, 3, 5 years regarding all the internationalization and localization aspects on the JavaScript. These are just a few examples: collator, locale, datetime format, relative time format, number format, list format, plural rules, display names, version 2 right now. There are just a couple of them that are landing on and landed already on the JavaScript. And datetime format is an old one, but it's being improved this year, I think, 3 times with 3 different APIs. You have date style, time style, and format range. Stage 4, meaning that you can just easily format one-line formatting the date as you prefer. And this is, I use Moment, I use Luxon, I use DateFNS. This is the browser. You have the full and rich translations of the browser already available, meaning that you don't need nothing else than the browser to provide the correct date and format date to your user. We have also short format, where depending of the time zone, we'll provide you the 9 p.m. or the 21:55, all controlled by the user preferences or the information and options you pass to the API. And the cool one that I think that is also everybody needed in some point of their lives, to format a range of dates between one point and another point. And with datetime formats, with this new API format range, you can pass all the correct formatting that you want to have between 2 different dates. This looks like very easy, but for those that work with dates and times so far, this is something that was not so trivial until we have this kind of goodness and awesomeness from the browser. Relative time format also has been improved, and it's available generally now. I'm saying today and during this week, also on TC39, some of these APIs already are stage 4, some already are stage 3, meaning that probably some of the APIs I will talk are not in correct stage, meaning that they just jump and are more close to be a reality in all browsers. Well, relative time format, this is just a quick example. It's a formatting a time depending of a point in time, meaning that you can now easily format 2 weeks ago, 2 days ago, 2 months ago, yesterday, tomorrow, everything translated in your language without having to do nothing else, load data, nothing, all available in one line. I also recommend everybody that is interested to just go Mdn, because lots of cool examples and use cases for relative time format are there. And one that I like, and also it's cool, list format. And list format, it's a cool example for this phrase. I'm attending Ionic Zürich Meetup 2. I have an array of strings or array of different words, and depending of my language, depending of the type I want to use, if conjunction or disjunction, he will glue all the words together in a correct order to, in the short sentence, have fun and learn, or have fun and learn in long. And if I use disjunction, I can have fun or learn. Of course, this is not possible because we are here all to have fun and learn. But you can easily use this to put together different translation strings that you have, meaning that if you are already using a library, because we don't have a message format yet on the browser, you can have some different strings put it together and glued together using list format. Display names. This is one that the version 2 was released. They had the version 1 on stage 3, but they are rebuilding the API, and I will explain at the end by a good reason, yeah? But display names for me is one of my favorites, because now you have list of cool things already on the browser. if you want to have currency list, you had to store it on your database, on your service, or have a huge string with the currency translated. And normally you just support 1 or 2 languages because it's a huge data set. With display names, you will have all this in one API. You just need to iterate over the currency codes that you want, and you have rich translated currency lists. And this is an example of a use case that you can use. Everybody that use have an e-commerce already suffer these kind of things. And also with the list for display names, we have also the language. Yeah, you just pass the BCP47 code, and you have the rich translated language. Where we can apply this in many different cases: language lists, country lists, different things. Just have a look on display names proposal, because lots of new data also are coming there, and you can also provide feedback, because more data from CLDR will be exposed as a display names. Just a thing, a CLDR, it's like a database of words that has that is consumed by internationalization APIs and are exposed on that APIs, meaning that it's a unique database where all the languages and all the words are stored, just to make it simple. And the browser and other platforms make use of this source of data, these dictionaries, to use this data on their platforms, in this case in the browser, meaning that normally is one source of truth. And the last one I want to talk about, it's stage 3 since this week. It's temporal. It's something that it's completely different API, because it's an API designed for the developer. For those that use the moment back on time, use it. Also, this last week was a little bit popular moment, because they just said that they did their mission, and it's right, because browser will start supporting all this long-standing issue of formatting dates, of manipulating arithmetically dates, and doing operations with dates and times. That was a pain, normally a pain, yeah. And here, temporal can give you back the day of the week, can give you back lots of different things. Also, the plus now will be at. They just listen to me, and they are adding add and subtract instead of plus and minus, because most of libraries use these terms. But this is a completely new API, already available as a polyfill that you can install on your application and start using and giving feedback, because this API is normally, sorry, it's completely normally it's completely different, sorry, from the typical APIs that are built from the standards, because this is the one that I think there is a good relation, and they are doing and the design based on the needs of developers, meaning that if you have any question, any feedback to the add, please just go to the repository of the proposal and give the feedback, because you will be heard. And yes, meaning that probably you don't need any more Moment, Yes, Date, FNS, or all other libraries, because Moment, it's built to make the browser doing all these operations in a simple and clever way. Meaning that just have to say thank you for all the community that supported these libraries and did this great job. But now it's time probably to move. Just give it a try and feedback. And just to wrap up and to close, how to contribute for those that want to help, for those that want to also give a hand on all internationalization and all localization stuff. We have 3 points of contact. First off one is ECMA 402 from 3C39. We have monthly meetings where we discuss all the proposals for the new JavaScript internationalization APIs. You also have the Mdn documentation. This is an important fact because as many people are contributing with documenting well the APIs in different languages, are supporting Mdn, and everybody knows that what is happening with this platform that is our Bible, meaning that we should give them some help and also as a consequence help all the community. And last, personal invite for message format working group, where we are working for the future of the message format in different platforms and with my special focus on the web. From my side, it's all. I just have to say thank you, and questions just shoot.
Thanks a lot, Romulo. So actually, Philip had a question already. I don't know if you want me to read it or just want to ask Philip.
Okay, I'm hearing.
Okay, but maybe I posted this in the chat, but I can ask. Thanks, Romulo, for these insights and for your work. I have a question about you mentioned browser language and language detection, and in my company here in Switzerland, it often happened that I get French web pages in the intranet, and I don't know any French, and that really sucks big time. And then I try, you can just give me English, and would you rely on browser language detection, or would you just go like the classic? Go with one language and then let the user decide what the user wants to use, or how's your feeling about that?
This is a long-standing issue, and normally nothing related with the Italy API itself, because
no,
you
definitely
have
not.
local, but it's not normally for the user experience of developer. Usually, normally what we do is provide the browser-based configuration, and if user changes this configuration, if you are able to store it in somehow, I would store and always provide the page on same language using that. For me, it's a good practice, but for some people also they don't recommend, because they cannot store any information from the user, they cannot save any details, and could be also a footprinting problem. But yes, normally I use the browser one and give quickly the opportunity to change if no language is stored. And if your browser language is English, I will show the English one, of course.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that was really interesting. So first, thank you. I can typically relate to this question because, yeah, I mean, like you said, we are in Switzerland. I'm Swiss French, and I live in the Swiss German part. So I'm constantly switching between languages, online and offline. So it's really important to me. And just wanted to ask, the currency proposition is already supported, or it's
somehow it's already supported. Display names is already available in the browser, and not all parts are, but I think currency and countries are already supported. This API is a little bit strange because they designed the first version and they jumped for a second version now, with some improvements. Also, because temporal has a huge footprint on what is the new Intel APIs, meaning that display names won't cover everything, because some will be covered by temporal. But yes, just check the proposal, and you can see all the examples available already for that API. Currently, normally in Chrome, yeah, it's the thing.
Yeah.
But, they are being adopted, and all the vendors are very happy with this kind of APIs because they are really needed.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot. Anyone has another question, maybe? No? We can always...
Okay. Thank you all.
Thanks again. It was really interesting.
Thank you to share your time with me.
Yeah, and I just wanted, Philippe, it's good that you have your brother in French. You know, it's always good to learn a bit of French, you know? So, yeah.
Sorry, sorry. I really I tried, but miserably failed. But guys, I learned Russian for 10 years, so...
Yeah, so, okay. So, I have nothing to say then.
Just regarding internationalization, Russia is one of the most complex countries regarding time zones, because they had, I think, 8 different time zones, and it's completely difficult, and browser didn't handle it correctly. Temporal also is one of the reasons and one of the APIs that will solve this long-standing issue for time zones as well.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I mean, the time you spend on time zones and currency and other problems, or like just even formatting a date correctly as an object, I don't know. I'm looking forward to spare time. Even though, like you said, currently, like the libraries did a great job. But yeah. Cool. So let's switch to Sandro, which gonna speak about Firebase and what he learned.
Yeah, welcome also from my side. What a blast, Romulo. Your presentation was awesome. I mean, I'm building an app for primary for Switzerland. So I have to go through all your content you provided right now and implement all this stuff that I can provide my app in Switzerland for the French, German, Italian, and Roman part. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but I think your work that you're providing for the community will save days or years of developing hours. So I'm really happy to have guys like you who are doing this awesome stuff. I would like to start sharing my screen and hope everything works. So,
yep,
perfect. So let's go. Today I'm going to talk about Firestore rules, data, how to secure it in a way that we can have multiple customers in one database. And I used the send email extension from Firebase, and why I would like to discuss with you and go through my code and show what I have done. And I'm sure it's not always the perfect solution, but it's one approach, and I'm happy to get feedback from you if you have other ideas how to solve these problems. And regarding the emails, I'm talking more about lifecycle events that I will support with emails. But yeah, let's go through. This is me, Sandro Scalco. I have some projects I'm doing. I'm self-employed. I'm working as a product manager for the electronic identity in Switzerland. Below you see my Twitter and Insta and whatever handles, GitHub. So I don't know, probably we will share these slides in the meetup group after the meetup, so you can find everything there. What I'm doing is I'm working with custom claims, and I show you how I use the custom claims to secure my data. I used Firebase functions to update these claims. I updated the data with the function. I show you my Firebase architecture and show you how I implemented my Ionic app. Basically, we are in an Ionic Meetup, so I will show you some Ionic stuff here. Yeah, well, this is kind of my main functions in the backend. I'm using Firebase functions as my backend API, and so I'm using, you see my team references, but yeah, well, that's basically, I'll show you what I'm building. That's probably better so you understand all the logic and architecture behind. This is my club management software where I can join different clubs and different subgroups of the different teams. We are here in Switzerland. It's primarily developed for floorball. It's a kind of indoor hockey. For those who don't know this sport, it's quite famous in Switzerland because we are really good at it. So that's probably an advantage here. And as you can see, I have here different clubs, and inside the clubs there are administrators and members. I will translate it for you because I've no translation and internationalization done yet, so everything is in German. And I can add users as an administrator and stuff like this, and everything is somehow secured with the Firebase functions and claims. And I'll show you how I've done this. I use the Firebase store where I have profiles and I use collections to do this kind of two-way data storage that we are used to do with Firebase. For those who don't know, we have this document-based storage solution from Google, and I mean, if you came from a relational database architecture, you know this foreign key stuff and primary key stuff, and here we have to somehow save every information at least at two locations in the database to enable this relational logic. So, for example, I have different teams, and each team has a list of members, and each team has a list of administrators. This could be the same one inside. And for example, each club can have multiple teams inside it. It can have club members and also club administrators. And the same information I have on the user profile as well. So when I am an administrator or club member, I will have this list also here where I see, oh, I'm club admin of this club, or I'm team administrator, and this is my team where I'm admin, and I'm also part of this team. Why I'm doing this is basically I enable the users or another user to update me or grant me as a team administrator. He's allowed to write on the user profile collection, and he's not allowed to change any data inside the club or team structure. I will show you this later. So I protected every root here inside these collections, and he's able to change data here. And in the backend, I do a lot of checks and security and dependency rules I'm checking. And if it's something won't work, I can revert all the data because I have the old state in the team and the club. This is basically what I'm doing. So, has anyone a question? I would like to stop here because for me it's clear what I'm doing, but for you it's new. So if you have a question or don't get it what I'm doing, I try a different approach to explain it to you. But otherwise, I will go ahead and show you what other stuff I've done. I have here, for example, a check. So where I, in my app, as an administrator, I'm able to create additional workouts. It's let's say a workout with your team, a training, and to create this, I go in the backend. I check the administrator status on the user profile, and if I click on create workout or training, then my Firebase function gets triggered, and I can check if I have sufficient permission to do all this stuff in terms of the club collection and not of the user collection. I'll show you that later in the code. So as I am adding for each user, here I'm adding, if he is an administrator, I add a custom claim to this user, and this claim represents the identification of a team. So I add somehow this team ID I'm adding to the user as a user claim. So he has the same claims as he has in the club administrator list or the team administrator list. He has assigned in his authentication user profile from Firebase. So,
sorry, can you see the claim in the authentication console of Firebase, or it's like hidden?
No, it's hidden.
It's hidden. Okay.
Yes. At least we can show here. Here you can't see anything.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Cool. So with this, I can add custom claims to the user, and then in the backend, if I, for example, I update or, for example, I delete a workout, I have this Firebase function here who gets triggered, and then here I can add a custom method where I can submit as a parameter the team ID. And inside this function here, I can do the check if my request from the user with this out.token, and then here with the claim, I can check if this is true, because I say, if I assign this claim to a user, I say my team ID equals true, and I can check on this, and so I can deny or allow people to update content in the Firebase function, even if there is some hack in the background, or I don't know if he is able to change his attributes here. I'll show you. If the user somehow in any way is able to change here his administrator list, I'll show you in the code. It's probably easier. So I have a very stupid logic here, that he has some kind of a button where he can add users or remove or add trainings and stuff like this. And in the backend service, I'm reading the user profile and not the whole club structure, just the user profile. And I'm looking if he has club administrative privileges on his user profile. And if he has this, I allowing him to open this pop-up here. But the proper checks for the privileges I'm doing after he creates his training, because this training will be stored in his user profile. There will be a new collection here, and I have a database trigger who listens to his user profile, to the collection training, if there's a new entry, and then I will transform this training and will save it to the right team. For example, I have to look here. I have the training list, and then I will create all the teams for this team and the user. So in the worst case, I'm allowing to create a training in his user profile, but it has no impact to all the other clubs or the whole data structure itself, because everything is protected over these claims in the backend. So I have to share it. I had problems to deploy my slides, so I tried like this. So that was I already explained. I have a function who checks if the user is team admin, and I'm checking this on his user profile, and the same thing if he is club admin, and this is just for front-end interactions. And then if I'm, for example, adding a user or a member as to the team admin, I have here a function who listened on this, and I will add the request that he is probably a team administrator, or he can add any user to a team as an administrator. I will add this to the user profile and store all the information. And then in the backend, I have a listener on this collection or on this document, and I can do all the checks. For example, I can allow him to delete or create this stuff with my custom claim function, where I do all the checks in the background. So this was for me a very smart way, let's say, at least for me. I'm interested in if you have other ways to solve this problem. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask. We can go through the code, and if not, I can show you what I've done with the emails. But the main brain, or the hard part of my presentation is in this Firestore rule stuff where I've done. So yeah, feel free to ask if you have questions.
Yeah, just so you can set the claims on the front end side. Can you also read them?
No, I set the claims on the backend side.
It's on the backend side. That's even more safe. Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah, it's all the claim stuff I'm doing in the backend. I can show you here.
So there is really no way that a user give himself like.
No, there's no way. Everything is triggered through Firebase functions.
Okay.
So,
okay, cool.
So your whole backend is Firebase. You don't have a node server or whatever.
No, it's all Firebase here. And here is probably my heaviest method. It's add new request handling. So, for example, if I'm in my app, if someone wants to join my team, probably I can do a live demonstration. Normally it won't work. I'm not sure if I have another user, but let's try. give me a second here to log in. I have no user yet. So let's create one. A second. New account. So this is also a cool feature, verify user accounts, and it's much faster if you're triggering this. If you say send again, yeah, it won't work. I think it's working, but it takes too long, and I won't let you wait. So if I'm joining a new team or another one is joining a new team, there will be a request on my dashboard here, and I can approve or deny it, reject it. So with this request, when I add this request or I accept this request, there's very much going on here. So, for example, I'm checking if I'm the first member of this club, and if I'm the first one, I give them administrative privilege here, and I will add to the team, I will add all the claims who are needed for this. Yeah, it's basically a lot going on here, and I will trigger emails. And the same thing is if you leave a team, here is the other function for accepting the request. But if you leave a team, I have to clean up all the associations in my profiles. That's really a mess here. I have to go to the user profile and delete the connection to the team list, administrator list. Then I have to go to the team and delete the user from the administrator list. This is because we don't have a relational data model. Then I have to go through all the custom claims and check if he has administrator claims that I have to delete. And finally, I have to remove the user from the team as a member. Because what I've done is I started the request to delete the team from the team list of the user profile. So this is already deleted, and at least at the end, I have to delete it from the team as well. So
sorry, the custom claim is a single object or is multiple object per authentication user?
It's one object with custom attributes.
Okay.
So
cool.
This is why I have to first create at least, we have seen this here in the presentation.
Yeah, okay.
Where is it? Here, where I have to initialize it as with an object if it's empty or not used yet.
Okay, cool.
So the other thing is email. Full screen. So there are two ways of sending emails. Before, in my first project, I used NodeMailer, and I was very happy. And there is a cool blog post out there from David, how to use NodeMailer. And I tried to use a new thing that's, for me at least, it's new. It's the Firebase extension, Firestore Send Email. And the question was why. For me, I have several requests from customers. So I have logs, and I can see if the email was delivered or not, and what's the status of the email. And one really cool thing, I can simply trigger emails based on database events. So I can do this also with NodeMailer, but for me it's more convenient to solve this with this function or with this extension. Then the other thing is I don't have let's say an API exposed for email sending. I mean, I can also avoid this with NodeMailer, but the other thing is I don't have username and passwords or email settings somehow in the code. It's all hidden by the function. The one thing is that you have to protect is this one, this Firebase rule, because I'll show you how to customize this extension. You have to select, it's brand new, I think it's 2 weeks ago. They enabled Zurich, it's important for Switzerland, as a data center as well for the functions, especially for the email extension that you have to install. Then here you have your connection string with the SMTP connection where you have your email address and some password here. It's actually not password. And then you have to enter the collection in your Firebase where you can trigger emails. And as I have the functionality to send emails based on database events, I try to block any operation on this collection from outside. So I introduced just this Firebase, this easy Firebase Firestore rule, sorry, to allow or deny this one. There are other things to do this, but I think it's important to know that if you want to block it from outside, that the user is not able to send emails. Yeah, for me, when a user sends an email, I will follow my guide that I try to create an item on the user profile collection, and then I have a listener on the user profile collection where I then transform the collection from the user profile to the actual Firestore collection mail. So I have at no point I have a direct connection to the real sending collection for these emails. I think that's also important by design to avoid this. Then I have this, that's actually a slide where shouldn't be here. That's a recap from the talk before, where we have the thing that we can go loop through all the teams and remove the claims from the user. Here, set the custom claims, and then at least at the end we have to delete it. That was before, I think. Sorry. I'm not sure if my slides are gone, but well, yeah, actually that's what it is. What I can show you are my cool Firebase lifecycle events, how I say. So for example, if I create a user, I have a trigger here when a user is created. So I'll add the user profile to the database, and here I have another one another trigger, when the user is created, I will send him a welcome email and explain all the things to him. Then I can send a verification email. That's basically Firebase standard stuff. But also, if I delete a user account, I can introduce a trigger on this, and if the user is deleted, I can send him an email as well that everything is gone. Or if we have a new user account where I have to check to approve it or not, I can send also emails to all the administrators who are responsible for this club, or decide if I send push emails. So here I send all the emails to the users out there to actually approve the requests. Yeah. But for me, the learnings were to find a secure way to save all the, I can stop sharing, to provide a safe way to store the data, manipulate the data, and give not that much possibilities to users or some criminal minds to hack this. So I try to put every action from the user to the user profile or to his own user profile, and most of the transactions or triggers I'm able to check if I am the changer of my own profile or is it another user ID. We can do this really easy with Firebase, and all other things I trigger in the backend, and there I have more possibilities. And I think it's a much safer environment to do all these manipulations to the data, especially if you are in this multi-customer area where you have multiple clubs and securities, and yeah. So thank you for your attention. That was basically what I've learned with my application, and I'm happy to answer your questions or discuss other ways to solve this.
I have just one question. I just jumped to the floor, sorry. First of all, presentation was great. I was playing with Firebase for a long time, but this is quite something more professional than I teach to my students. It's excellent. Just have two questions. One you already answered, based on source events, and you communicate between different services. The second one is not a question; it's just more like an advice from your side. How this scale regarding controlling possible errors on the execution flow is one of the steps. When you imagine register user, you need to send an email to user, you need to that. If something fails in the middle, how the recovery process can handle this? There is anything on your side, or you already imagined something?
I mean, yeah, how do you say, think about building up lightweight services where you don't have too much things inside or in one particular service. Then yeah, I mean I've no proper solution. Then for this I would suggest to work with the logs where you can see what happened. So for example, if I'm going to delete a user profile, or if I adding claims or removing claims to a user, I'm printing that out in the logs. And then if something fails, I can at least reproduce what happened, and I can do it manually. But I mean, write test cases for your functions, make your function as small as possible. That's the only advices I can give. I'm not sure if David or Philip has another idea or answer to this. I mean, for me, it's no wrong or right. Just keep it as simple as you can. and it's somehow, yeah, for onboarding processes, you have this really, there's much going on, especially in my project. I have to create a user profile. I have to check if it's the email is validated. I have to send a welcome email. And the next step, I had to add custom claims, and you have to test it. And I think if it's running, then it's running, and you will not have other problems. Otherwise, you have to, if something fails, you have to roll back all the data you have changed. And for this, you need to know what happened. And you can, for example, you can write your own logs to a Firebase store collection where you can see all the steps you executed, and then you can somehow roll back your thing. It's the same you have with a SQL or a ERP system like SAP or something. If one step fails, you can roll back everything because you didn't commit the data to the database. So, and with Firestore, we don't have this logic yet, I think, or I'm not sure, quite not sure. So you have to do it by your own, and this is really hard, I think, to solve it in Firebase. All this rollback and rollback features.
But can't you? I mean, didn't show you that, like in Firebase, you can let Firebase handle the like, if you said that the authentication needs an email to be approved, that you can just like one configuration and Firebase does everything. You know what I mean? Like if you
No.
do the authentication, you can set that somewhere, I would say. So then you spare the function of sending the first email and the authorization one.
Yeah, you can do stuff like this, and what you also can do is you can do data validations or data validation rules you can provide, and so you can check that your data is accurate on the database as an additional layer of data handling. But it's
because like when I build an authentication with Firebase, I like to use Firebase UI. So basically, I don't want to implement anything. I just want the library to handle all the possible edge cases and everything. So I know it works.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the question from Romulo goes a little bit way beyond this. Okay. Just the login. It's if you have multiple triggers or database actions you execute, and something in between fails, then how you deal with that? I think it was this question, not?
Okay. Yeah, I understand.
Yes, it was similar. Yeah, but you already answered and give some advices to take into consideration.
I know from Firebase that, or Firestore, that you have this kind of transaction where we can somehow batch several requests in one, and then you can say if everything works, it will be committed to the database. But this is, I think it's just for if you have 500 requests per second, if you do mass updates or something, and not for single transactions.
Okay. Yeah, but it's nice that there is also that option now to send email without node mailer. Feels a bit more. Yeah, it's kind of cool to be able to use a function to or kind of a built-in library to do that. It's kind of nice. The only spontaneous, the only things I would think about to not to use it is like you have to use then a collection, right? So you have to write in a collection to trigger the function. That means that if you got like 1 million of clients and you have to write a lot of emails, then it might increase more your cost, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. But otherwise, yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, looks a little bit, cleaner.
Yeah, somehow cleaner, yeah.
Yeah. And so one dependency less.
I mean, I can show you short my how an email looks like in Firebase or Firestore.
Yeah, sure.
I don't need, have to accept Thailand. So here you can see an email, and then you have several states. If you see if it's succeeded, you have the HTTP response codes, you have your text in plain text or HTML if you're using it, you see your subject, you see the recipient, how long they tried to send it, you see it took 1 second here.
Yeah, it's really
and this stuff updates during the sending process. And you see which email accepted the mail, and yeah, it's quite interesting from an engineering point of view, but it generates several changes on your database for one email, and if you have millions of customers, I can imagine that it will not be cheap.
Yeah, but you get more security, more information. Yeah, so you are more sure than the email has been delivered or not, which is kind of good. So yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
And you can even install triggers if you have an email which is the status rejected or something. You can forward this email to your help desk or whatever and trigger that without setting up a mail server and all this stuff. So you have really a no backend solution for this.
Cool. Any other question, anyone? No.
Romulo entered. That's cool. Thank you.
The sender email has to be a Google Mail account, or can you use something else? So like on what address the mails are sent out?
You can define your own email address there. I have it in the presentation. I think in the configuration you can see the default. You can set the default from address, the default reply to address. And the cool thing actually is you can use also templates when I did like this. So you can use templates, or actually you can use handlebar, for example, to style your emails.
Nice.
And then you can use your own configuration from handlebar.
Okay, cool.
I think that would be a cool feature.
Okie dokie. Super. Thanks a lot.
Cool.
Yeah, really interesting. Thanks to both. Yes, since we are the Ionic Meetup, so I don't know if you see today, Ionic started a new function for AppFlow. Kind of interesting. You can now, if you are using AppFlow, you can send secure link to your client so they can test your app while it's in development on the web, which is kind of interesting. And they made some new progress on the Vue adoption. I don't know. We had once a meetup about Ionic Vue. Maybe when it's out, it's gonna be a good idea to have again one Ionic Vue meetup. Maybe that could be cool. So yeah, let's see if next meetup we organize it online again or offline. Depends on the situation. If you are interested to present anything close or a bit more far away related to Ionic, you ping me anytime, you know. And yeah, thanks again to Sandro and Romulo. Really interesting talk, and yeah, see you around, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me here, and thank you all, everybody that was here today. Hope to see you soon.
Yeah, thank you also from my side.
Thanks, David, for inviting us to the meeting. Good to see you guys.
Super.
Okay.
Bye-bye,
Thank
everybody.
you for your question.
Bye bye.